This week, the Israeli security forces, police and army evacuate a carpentry workshop in the illegal outpost of Derech HaAvot. It's next to Netiv HaAvot. It's next to Gush Etzion. I have to tell you, when I was the head of Peace Now, we were the one to appeal about this outpost, and the reason is very simple. We thought that if the settlers would like to build settlements, they should do it under the Israeli law and should not take land that belongs to private Palestinian people. And in this outpost, you can see that they did the two things. First of all, they built the caravans and then the big houses when they got the order to evacuate, and they just ignore it. And the second thing, the land is belonging to the Palestinian living around it. So, you know what? You cannot even, I don't see how you can argue in favor of that. If you're a Jewish person and you believe in the message, don't steal, so you should be in my side this time.
Okay, so the answer would be, if you had the facts correctly, I probably would be in your side. There's not a person in Gush Etzion who's for any Jew going to an Arab house, kicking them out and taking it over. The problem is,
land.
Hold on, excuse me. The problem is you don't have the facts.
I do have.
Oh, now let me give you the facts. In 2001, families went up on a hill with Israeli orders, and okay, that's a left-wing government as well. They gave them electricity and road and everything else. Under Israeli, it was originally state land.
Why they got the orders to evacuate?
No, you're going to have to let me go on.
Yeah.
In 2014, that's 13 years later, another organization, not yours, Yesh Din, went to the courts and said it was built not on private land, but not on state land, meaning it's a zoning problem. And then they brought some Arabs and it's our land. Then you came along in Peace Now, much later on in 2016, so don't take credit for it, number one.
That's not
and
true,
you claimed, I have the right here.
Know.
Would you like to know the date? Would you like to know the date?
Let me correct you, okay?
Yeah.
1999 it started.
2001 they only went up.
Just a second. Let me correct you this time. 1999, the settlers decided, the Israeli defense forces allowed the Palestinian living around to go back to their land and to work in the land. And Boogie Alon was commander-in-chief, and he made the decision. The settlers didn't like it. When the second Intifada started, you are right, in 2001, they brought up the caravans. They got immediately orders to evacuate.
Incorrect.
They ignore it.
Right.
They got, just a second, let me finish. Yeah. They got electricity not from the government, but from the local municipality that always support this kind of action by the settlers.
Okay.
And since then, there was a dispute about the land, and this is why there were some appeal, and again another appeal, another appeal. Eventually, part of the outpost is going to be legalized because it's on state land, and part of it is going to be evacuated after Peace Now appeal because it's on private Palestinian land. Again, we started this process much before 2006.
People go up in 2001 and you wake up in 2016 on private land.
No, 1999.
No. This, the Netiv HaAvot, your complaint about Netiv HaAvot was in 2016. Stop lying.
No,
Number two,
don't say to me lying. Ari, don't say lying.
Listen to me.
I'm telling you I was there.
Can we go on for a second? I'm going to give you facts that you're not going to like. The proof to the courts that this was somewhat Arab land were 2 tire tracks. There is no deed. There is no proof of ownership. 0. Is there proof of ownership or not?
So why the Supreme Court?
Yariv, since you were involved,
Ari,
tell me the proof of ownership.
Where is your ownership for this jacket?
Okay.
Show me receipt that you buy the jacket.
So you're admitting?
No, I'm not admitting. Show me the receipt.
Thank you.
Show me the receipt.
I
want to see the receipt.
Yariv, okay,
it's exactly the same.
I agree with you.
Because in the civil
Yariv, I agree with you.
Just let me finish the sentence.
You think that me buying a jacket and not having a receipt is the same as someone claiming that the land is there without having any proof?
There is civil administration, and they have the registry for all the lands. And
civil
they're saying, not me,
he's
saying that this is Palestinian private land.
The state report of I have it. The state report of what you said did include an addendum proposing that rational solution should be implemented, which would prevent.
No, we're not talking about rational solution. I'm talking who owns the land.
Yariv, I'm reading the report.
But it's not
related. Listen, that a rational solution should be implemented, which would prevent the destruction of the homes, namely to offer the Arab claimant subject to proof of ownership, which they never gave. End of story. Case
closed. Let me tell you something about the Supreme Court. When I will come to the Supreme Court and I will say this land belongs to you,
what do you need to do?
Let me finish. They are not going to listen to me.
Why?
Because I don't know who belongs who owns the land. Let me finish. But when I'm coming to the Supreme Court is going to the state, to the civil administration, and they are not asking for solutions. They're asking for facts.
They ask for proof of ownership.
They're asking, the Supreme Court is asking one thing, the state.
Yes.
Is it private land or a state land. They are not asking who belongs
So once
this
again,
state,
you're
this
saying
land to.
half-truths. What happens
this
with
is the
Judea
real.
and Samaria,
Yeah.
there are two kinds of land.
Three.
There's state land,
Survey
and
land,
there's not state land.
and survey land.
Non-state land automatically goes into the default of private land, but it doesn't mean that there's an owner on that land. But what bothers me, or really bothers me, is that this is not really about law. This is about your organization, which really is anti-Jewish. I'm going to prove it to you.
No, we
listen.
are Jewish people in favor of Jewish Israel.
Kfar al-Kab in Jerusalem that is made up of an entirely illegal Arab building. Did you ever go to the Supreme Court about it?
You know, I have to tell you.
Yes or no?
No.
Then why? But how about
Ari, let me answer. I'm not an investigation.
In Al-Hilwa, Jamal, in the Jordan Valley,
I know it's hard for
illegally
you
built.
to listen
Did you go to the Supreme Court?
I will explain to you. First of all, it's different because it's not on private land.
Yes,
it's on
it
state
is state land.
No, state, not private.
So that's illegal. Did you go to the Supreme Court?
And second, my organization and me, first of all, are working in order to keep the chance for the two-state solution. And when the settlers are going, let me finish. Ari, you cannot take over the show.
Yes.
When we are going to the Supreme Court, we are doing it because of the law, but also because of our ideological reason. The same reason why the settlers are going there.
Understand.
And the same